Okay, our Christmas sequence. Come to rest on your back. You don't have to have a cushion. It might be nice to have a big cushion bolster around so that you feel free to use it when you want, if you want. Yeah, and like I said, if you can have a little bit of a bigger space, or at least kind of a little bit of elbow room around you, that would be helpful. Or just a bit more relaxed, free. So come to rest on your back with the knees up, the feet stepped in. Just taking a moment to let the body settle down and let the mind settle down into the body. Bringing awareness to your breathing. Noticing the contact areas, the back of the body with the floor. A few deeper breaths, perhaps. Perhaps you want to have a little bit of movement, letting the knees move from side to side, just to loosen and firm that contact with the ground, through the base of the body, the pelvis. And at some point, lift the knees in towards the body, letting them come wide. Again, you might want to continue the rocking, or you might just want to come to stillness here and allow the weight of the hands to create a bit of opening inside the hip joints, inside legs. Whatever you do, also when you're having a movement, creating a movement, to do this with your arms rather than with your belly or with the strength of your legs. And then we let the left leg come a bit further out to the side. Start to straighten that leg out. Now, the word straighten is really just meant as an indication or a direction rather than as you have to have the leg straight. I don't mean it like that at all. It's just straighter than a bent leg, that's all. And take your time with finding a bit of stretch at the back of the leg. Mainly focus, first of all, and letting the weight of that leg that is now heavier as the leg is outstretched. Let the weight of that leg create even more opening across or inside the hip joint perhaps, or along the inside knee. You can support that leg a little bit with your hand. And if the other leg, the right knee, is kind of above the body, I suppose, if you still have the hand on that knee, you can then also pull the knee further over to the right so that the leg comes up slightly, or you let it come closer to the ground. So you're kind of seesawing there with your legs to just explore this opening of this left leg. Now, I quite like to have the leg right, sort of at right angles to the body. And I find the leg further away quite strong for the groin, but this might be very different for you. So feel free to explore what other options you have here. We all have a different structure in the pelvis, the hip joint in relation to the leg. So it doesn't quite have to look like what I do. Let's find a way to find more length at the back of the leg and an openness in the direction that really suits you, that you really like. And then eventually we do the same thing on the other side. Bring the legs back into center. Bring the feet back down to the ground. Cross your left leg over your right. And then let the legs, so you keep the foot sort of along the center line of the body, and then you kind of let the knees lean a little bit towards the left. So the weight of this left leg that is wrapped over the top of that right leg kind of creates a bit of weight, a bit of extra pull. So keep your shoulders on the ground and go only as far as your hips are happy to go. Not really looking for a twist to the spine necessarily here, more for a bit of a stretch over on the outside of the hip. And back into center. Cross the right leg over the left. And then lean over to the right. Coming back into center. Release the legs. Just let them move side to side to undo. We're going to bring some attention to our shoulders. I'm going to start with the left arm. And what I'd like you to do here is to keep the elbow soft and the elbow a little bit bent and the hand soft as well. And to just explore letting that arm kind of snake and coil around and rest the body, the shoulder, particularly the chest and the head and neck, kind of move along with it, perhaps, and out of the way, perhaps, or they just get drawn along within the movement. Just finding different ways of how this arm can move in this direction. You could just think of, I don't know, a belly dancer or something like that, letting your arms just kind of find their way in different curves and directions, rotating inwards and outwards. And we're going to explore that in all sorts of different positions, also in relation to the rest of the body. So let the arm come further out to the side. Perhaps if that's heavy, you could also let the elbow rest down on the ground. And you can have the elbow more or less bent or change. Find some room also overhead and arm alongside the ear. Further away from the head or over the head. Whatever you do, I'd say, whatever you do, anything goes, apart from something that pinches or something that hurts the shoulder in some way. So I know some of you have got, had some trouble with shoulders. So don't try to work against that. If there's any discomfort, move around it. Make the movement a bit smaller. See if you can gradually find a bit more movement, and rather than forcing anything. And see what you can do, what movement you have without creating any strain. And once the hand is kind of, or the arm is kind of explored all these different directions, you could just let your knees move over to the right slightly. So you're creating more of a stretch along the side body, and the left side of the chest starts to lift away from the ground a little bit, creating again a different angle for the arm in relation to the body. See what you can do with that. Again, just looking for any movement, all the movements that you can make from here. It's creating a big doodle in the air with your arm and your hand. Improvising. Freestyle movement. Eventually, that left knee might want to crawl up a bit closer to your right arm. So you're increasing the twist that you're in, again, increasing or changing the angle of your shoulder, your arm. Use your breathing to make some more space between the ribs. And eventually come back to center. And of course, we do the same thing with the other side. So start in the same way, just with the shoulder on the ground and just knowing that rotation in and out. See what that looks like. Elbow be soft, the wrist is soft. Even that smaller movement, what does the head want to do along with it to help? And then you just start to, compose a bigger movement. No pinches. Let the arm rest on the ground if that feels better. Letting the arm roam free. See how the legs can get involved and how they find their way over to the left now to create more length over the side body, a different angle for the arm to the chest. Let's see what that might add. And then eventually come back to center. And come to roll onto your left side. Let the hands come out in front of you, staying with the shoulders for now. Letting your right hand reach right into the room mat in front of you, and then drawing the shoulder back, the hand back, creating this sort of sliding movement for the shoulder blade over your back. And gradually, we draw that hand, that top hand, further and further up the arm. But we keep coming back to reaching and sliding the hand past the fingertips of the bottom hand. Sliding that hand further and further up the arm, up the top of the chest. Elbow moves through the air. Keep coming back. Let the whole chest roll with it. Let the head roll with it. And eventually you kind of start to let your right elbow reach down to the ground. And keep your arm bent, that right arm, until you've actually comfortably touching your right elbow down to the ground, to your right. Once that starts to happen, you can make the movement a little bit smaller again, not going all the way back to your left hand, but still a similar movement, just with the elbow. Letting it move up into the air and then touching down the floor behind you. Let the head roll along with it. Spine rolls along with it. And eventually, you start to let the hand reach away to the other side. And also there, take your time. Let perhaps the hand sort of fingertips are at your armpit, elbows on the ground, and you gradually let the arm unfurl. Also there, take your time until that just kind of comes natural and it feels like you're able to do this without any undue strain. Once you're in that position, let the hands spread out, stretch out the fingers, open the palms, and take a few deeper breaths into the side body and the armpit, all the way down to the pelvis, the belly. Now roll back into center. And roll over to the other side. Of course, we do the same thing on the other side, the hands on top of each other, first reaching the hands away from you, that left hand, now the top hand, out in front of the fingertips of the bottom hand, and then just dragging that hand back to the wrist first of all, and gradually making that movement bigger. Let everything roll along with it. So yes, there's this movement of the shoulder blade, but it's also going to pull your chest along, rotate, draw the head along. The position of the knees will move and change. No need to keep them glued together. And as gradually as the other side, you start to find your way over with your elbow, first of all, to the other side. And let the top knee lift away if that's too much. It won't reach all the way down unless you do. So do that. Allow for that. And then once the arm is down, start to unfurl. Knowing what stretching all of the arm out, how much that changes. How much more of a stretch that creates, how much more sensation, different sensation that creates. Now, once you're comfortable in that, spread the fingers, open the palms, take a breath. And then roll back into center. And draw the knees in towards the chest for a moment. And hug them in close. Bring the hands back down to the floor, just finding a little bit of strength for the belly. Keep the lower back in contact with the floor and bring the feet kind of level with your knees, bent knees. And then reach the feet a little bit further away from the body until you feel your belly muscles working, and then kind of just let the knees just a couple of inches move from side to side, feet move from side to side, the legs move from side to side. Just noticing how this requires strength from the belly. And when the feet move to one side, it's the strength is more on the opposite side. You know, so also feeling into the strength of the sides of the belly. And hug the knees back in close to the body. And then straighten the legs out. Bring the arms overhead. And then cross your right leg over your left foot. And then roll over onto your belly. Keeping your arms out in front. So the arms are out and the legs are out. You can change the position of the feet. Just see how you go with this. You can let the hands rest on top of each other. See how you go with it. See what you need to do. But what we're going to try and do here is in this kind of sausage shape, if you like, or if you prefer the image of my favorite quality street sweet, the long one, the long golden one, with a wrapper on each side, right? Those are your hands and your feet wrapped over. So imagine that one. And we're going to try and roll over onto the back without changing the position of your legs, changing as little in your body shape here as possible, in the position as possible. Start with just letting your hips perhaps roll a little bit from side to side. Just find out.
Ellis, you're lying over the microphone.
Oh, right. So you can't hear anything?
No.
Okay. So try just with that position, you try and roll over onto your back. Thank you, Marcia. And then from that position, you're trying to roll over onto your belly again. And you could just keep on rolling, of course, depending on your space. Trying to use as little of the body as possible. Well, as little of your limbs as possible, I should say. So what does the head need to do? What does the spine do in order to make this possible or almost possible? Rolling a few times from side to side once you've got a little bit the hang of it, and then come to rest on your belly again.
Bring the arms out in front. And lift the legs, both legs, pressing the hips down to the ground, lift the head. You can keep the hands on the ground if that feels better, or also lift the hands away from the ground. And just rest back down. You could do this a few times if you like. Or do one leg and one arm. If both at the same time feels a bit too strong. And then let that go. Just rest the head on your hands. And then bring the hands next to the chest, the forehead to the ground, the elbows pointing in the direction of the heels, remember? And shoot them towards the heels as you lift into the cobra and push back up to hands and knees. Bring the hands out in front, the forehead to the ground or to a cushion, bolster. Allowing for the length of the side body to develop here. Let your breathing play a part. How can the breath help with creating a bit more length along the spine? You want to breathe your breath. Just imagine you're drawing the breath all the way down towards your tail. And it kind of pulls the body with it in that direction slightly. And then when you breathe out, it kind of releases forward and down. And either with your head slightly lifted if you prefer, or if you're comfortable with the head on the ground, and you can stay with that, bringing the feet over towards the left. So you're emphasizing the stretch over the right side of the body. And then over to the other side. You can go backwards and forwards a few times if you like. And then come to hands and knees. Sit on your left hip with the legs out to the right. And then let the body lean slightly over to the right, creating that length over the left side of the body. We're just here for a moment, just to kind of checking in how this feels right now. And then we can compare it in a moment.
to what it feels like after we've done the next little sequence. So from here, we bring the hands over to the left to create a bit of a twist. So you just lean into your hands and you start to look over your left shoulder. You can bend the arms a little bit, so a little bit lower down, or you can have the hands in a bit closer, depending on where you like to bring this twist. And then come to face towards your left knee. And we're going to lean over that left knee. And which, in all this exploration that we're doing here, feel free to keep a little bit of movement going. And looking here to find a bit of a stretch over that outside of the left hip. And you might want to be more over the knee or more to the right of that knee, more to the left of that knee, more with a bit of a twist. And explore all of those options. The right hip might try to come a little bit closer to the floor, or it might want to lift away from the ground. And gradually, you bring the right shoulder further and further over to the right. And perhaps you're still leaning forward. See how that goes. Leaning in more towards your right leg. And then from that position, you lift the upper body back up again and see how you are now, leaning in to that same side as before. And come back up, bring the hands behind you and lean into them and let the knees move from side to side. Until you end up with your knees over to the other side. See how that position is here, that leaning in over to your left now. And then we start with our twists. So the hands come over to the right on the ground, closer to the body or further away from the body, the elbows a little bit bent if you like. And then starting to turn to look over the right shoulder. Come to face your right knee. Leaning in towards your right knee. And the left hip come away from the ground to bring it back down. Exploring and searching for your options here. Ways of opening out. And gradually walking the hands further and further over towards your left knee. And that might not be close to that knee at all, doesn't matter. That's just a direction. So the direction would be that eventually you start to lean in more towards your left knee. And then lift, open the chest back out and lean into our starting position. Rolling back up, sitting back into your hands, letting the knees move from side to side. You can make it a little bit bigger, include everything that we've just done into this movement. Come back into center. Now bring the, is it the other way around? The right leg out and step the left foot up to your inner thigh. In a way, we're going to do a similar exploration, except now with one leg straight. If it needs to bend along the way, of course, let it. Let's see where it takes you. If you straighten the leg out, where your upper body needs to adjust, or if you want to bring the upper body forward, how the knee needs to adjust. You can keep a bit of movement in the pelvis, a bit of a roll to the leg. And leaning in towards the outstretched leg is one option. I'm gonna work our way in all directions around the legs gradually. So allow for some rotations, just to kind of bring that into our awareness, the options here of how much room there is for the leg to rotate inside the hip joint. You can stretch that leg on all sides. Say if we were to turn the foot in and rest it on the inside, the big toe side. Stretch over the inside leg here. Then roll all the way over. So your back leg is, well, what was your front leg? Now your back leg. So looking for a stretch over the front hip. And then from here, I'm going to get this thing out of the way. From here, you're going to tuck the toes of the back foot. Tuck the toes of the back foot. And then we're going to hop and bring that leg out in front. So now we're stepping that right foot forward. So we're in a lunge, a low lunge. Opening out the left front leg. Tucking the toes of the back foot, lifting the knee away from the ground. Stretching out the back of the leg. And then bring the knee back down. And then we bring that leg all the way back. Find its way back into the original position, right back. Sitting back and bringing the leg out in front, so we're back where we started. And leaning in towards that leg. Yeah, then bring the foot back in. Let the feet be next to each other for a moment in the butterfly pose. You can see what I mean with having some room around you. It's kind of helpful because you're bound to step off the mat at some point. Let the left leg stretch out, right leg out. Of course, we do the same thing over on this side now that you know what's coming. And feel free to play around with it again. It doesn't quite have to look like what I do. It's all just a way of finding out how you can move with that leg out straight. What room for maneuver there's available. And knowing that in a moment, you're going to find your way through the sideways position to being on your knee and, more towards that swan pose, right? With the leg rolled upside down, that left leg. You can already start to feel into how that works together with the body, how that spiral moves. And eventually work your way towards that position. Take your time. Tuck the toes of the back foot. Use that as a springboard, that foot. And you're going to have some strength in your front thigh as well to make this possible. And you can lean over to your right so you get out of the way of that flying legs. It's got room to come forward. So whenever you're ready, make that step. Bring the leg out in front. Coming into the lunge. Tucking the toes of the back foot. Lift the knee away, coming into a high lunge. And bring the knee back down. Swing the leg back through space. Take it back out to the original position. And then lift back up. Stretch the feet out in front of you. And again, just let the knees move from side to side. Come to sit in a cross-legged position. You might want to sit on a lift of some kind. Or you might want to sit on your knees over a lift, over a bolster. You want to be sure that you can sit with an upright spine, so you're free to move your upper body around, so you feel quite sort of grounded in your way of sitting. We're going to come back to our arms, shoulders. Same as what we did earlier in the very beginning with, one arm at a time. We were lying down. And let your arms just snake and coil and move around. Let your head move with it. Let your shoulders relax. Perhaps there's a twist to one side, the other side. You can just imagine swaying music playing and going along with that. Okay, and then let that settle. Take your legs, you might want to take the cushion back out again, perhaps to have a little bit more room for maneuver, but see how you go. You can take it out later as well if it gets in the way. So you're going to sit with, let's sit with the right leg out in front. And quite what we call a square position. So the knees are quite close together and the feet, you can probably see the toes sticking out the side of your leg. And I'm going to sit this way around so it's easier to see. Taking this position with some yin quality. Meaning we're just letting shifting patterns develop, listening in, finding some forward weight in the upper body and looking for probably a stretch here at the back of the hips, right inside the buttocks, or for some it might also be much more about the thighs. Remember that it might really help to let your shoulders and shoulder blades swim around a little. Lifting your shoulders to the ears, back down again to help with that opening over the lower back and the back of the hips.
Use your breathing to draw the opening of the body down, to draw the attention down to the base of the body. We'll roll back up to sitting. Now you have a bit of maneuver here, right? To let one knee come a bit further forward, the other knee a bit further forward. And use this. You're going to use this option. You bring your right foot out from underneath and just let it come to the other side of the knee. And then standing that right knee upright. So we're finding our way into a classic twist here. Now, if that right hip wants to come forward slightly or back to make this more comfortable, you have that lightness to your right buttock there, don't you? So place it back or forward, whatever helps you most here. And then not so much about the twist here, although this is a classic twist position, but more about opening of the outside of your right hip. So draw that knee across towards your left armpit, wrapping the arm around the knee, hugging that in close, and then turn your belly and your chest towards the right. And then come to face forward again. Release the legs. And then bring them in the opposite direction. Opposite crossing. Again, square pose, right? So the knees, it's called square pose because the four corners of the body here, lower body, the two knees and the outside the hips fall more or less a square. If it helps to use a lift, it helps to use the hands next to the hips. It helps to keep the spine long to start with, so you're really hinging from the hips rather than just rounding your upper back.
Eventually rolling back up to sitting. Release the left foot. And bring the knee up and place the foot on the other side of your knee. This left hip, let it move back a little bit, gives you a bit more room, or perhaps it feels easier for you to have the hip walk a little bit further forward. There is that room for maneuver here, isn't there, over that left hip. Main action here this time is to draw the knee in towards the opposite shoulder to create this stretch here on the outside. Once that is in place, you hold onto the knee, and perhaps there's room to turn your chest further to the left. And let the hand come behind you or out to the side. It doesn't do much there. And then release. Have a block, bolster, cushion nearby. We'll roll our way down to the ground. And then keep on rolling the arms overhead, coming into a bridge pose. Squeezing the buttocks for a moment to really create some lift. Counteract the previous pose. And can move the hips around a bit, release the shoulders, the neck. And then roll back down to the ground. Take one knee into your hand as you stretch the other leg out along the ground. Same thing on the other side. Then bring the feet back down. Take the lift and bring it underneath your upper back. If you have a bolster, you might want to choose to have it along the mat. So you're just resting all the way back on it with both your head and your chest on the lift. If you have a smallish cushion, you could also have that underneath just your back, just your upper back, and let your head be on the ground. What we're looking for is just a nice way to be with an open chest, that the arms rest open, the head rest back. And in this position, we take a few deeper breaths that really fill the chest and all of the body with expansive air. And leave it for a moment, sort of topped up once you reach the top of the in-breath, and then let it go gradually. If you can follow the filling of your upper body, where the air goes, where it finds some more room as you fill up with more air. And just let it relax away from you as you breathe out. And in a moment, just find your way as easily as possible out of the pose. And bring the lift underneath your pelvis. Really let the weight of the pelvis rest into your lift. The belly relax. And let the belly fall into the body. And then again in a moment, peel your pelvis away from the lift, taking it out to the side, resting the hips back down to the ground and coming into Savasana. Any tensions that you notice starting to creep back in, any thoughts are starting to creep back in, any restlessness. Just notice that. Stay resolved to be with your resting body, letting everything fall away. And then deepen the breath a little, bring some gentle movement back into the body, feet and hands. And wriggling and snaking your way into a nice wake up stretch, if you like, before you roll to your side and come up to sitting. And once you've found your comfortable positions, letting the Eyes be closed. Staying with your attention, that inside space. Again, ignoring the call of your thoughts. Simply staying with the movement of your breathing, the sensation of sitting, the sensation of space. And bring the hands together in front of the chest. Lower the chin to the collarbone notch. Release the hands, open the eyes, lift the head. Namaste.